My guest today is writer-director Ran Jing, who brings a striking visual and thematic precision of her newest short film, Imprint. Now, as an immigrant herself, her work examines power, identity, and the human condition. And with Imprint, she sharpens that focus into a story that directly engages with the intersection of immigration, class, and technological advancement. Now, her background as a storyboard artist brings precision to every visual and tonal choice, deepening the film's controlled mounting unease. Now, the film was made through the prestigious AFI Directing Workshop for Women program, produced by Fiona Hardingham of Adapted Pictures and Selena Leone of Little Pause Pictures. Together, they support a story that navigates complex moral terrain while remaining grounded in deeply human stakes. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome filmmaker Ran Jing and her psychological sci-fi short film, Imprint, to the show. Welcome, Ran.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Well, what and I kind of lost count how many times I watched this film because it's so compelling. So, what
Oh, thank
inspired
you.
you to write this story of ambition, competitiveness, and sacrifice?
I think the idea definitely grew a little bit. It started just with the fun idea that since right now I'm working English, I feel like with speaking a foreign language, I do miss like certain things that I like to read in Chinese. For example, the martial arts saga. I can never express that in English as fluently, as concise as I could in Chinese. And then I feel like naturally when you're using another language, you sort of lose certain sense of culture in it. And then in English, I'm sure I can never grasp the language as well as like a native speaker. So I started wondering like, so I started university as a math major. The other day I was just joking with my friends. I'm like, I would never use the math anymore. So if I can exchange that for English, I would definitely sell it. So ideas seeded from there. But then it's slowly growing into because all of the horror I feel like is about certain type of fear. And then the fear in imprint is falling behind middle class. It applies to both like the moms, the white moms and also the immigrant mom, because the immigrant mom, like the reason she go to another country is because she wants a better future for her child. And then same as Flora, the main character, the reason she goes through this type of surgery is also because within the system, everyone else is getting it. And then if she doesn't, her child would fall behind. So both are sort of like mirroring each other because they're both stuck in the system that made them who they are. So I feel like that's when I settled on the core for the short.
Well, this film makes us ask a lot of questions about ambition, but it also seems to raise the question of skilled and educated immigrants that are among us that we seem to be ignoring because immigrants have a lot of skills and intellect to add to any society. But in America, and I've even heard in Canada, that immigrants are looked at as sometimes unskilled labor in many sectors. So, what is the most common question about imprint that you are asked the most? Because again, this film is so compelling in so many different ways.
I think definitely, I'm so glad you said that because imprint definitely for me, rather than giving an answer or showing an attitude, it's more like about me asking some confusions I have, like even about my own life. When you're living, uproot your life in your home and then going to another country to live, to work, there are sort of things you sacrifice, there are things you gain, and then sometimes people do question, is it even worth it? I feel like for sure, like it applies to bigger scale as well. Like, do we really sort of gaining what we wanted to gain, like when moving to another country? So yeah, for sure.
Well, no, by watching this film Imprint, I mean, like I said before, it brings up a lot of questions. And probably in the world of short films, this film really makes you, well, no pun intended, it makes you think. And because we are already seeing information about brain implanted chips, the use of AI, so much technology that it's hard to keep up with all of it. In your film, it also shows us that people are not willing to wait for their natural talent to be developed or even mentored. I mean, some people want the fast track to success without working for it, and we see it all the time. And this seems to be one of the major elements of your film.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a process that's it's also raised a question like is it making our life better because we can skip the process to get the convenience of technology? It's almost like if I use ChatGPT to revise my email all the time, for sure I can write faster, but I sort of like my English degraded. So same as learning any skill, I think there are a lot of value coming through the process of it, and there's definitely a lot of joy coming the process of it rather than just gaining the ending result. So for Imprint, like I originally just wrote it as a cautionary tale. Like for me, I am definitely a big advocate for the process for sure. So the result definitely matters, especially in a society where we all value success. But the process matters more.
I agree. The process matters the most because a lot of people don't realize that even as children, we're constantly in a learning process.
For
And by
sure.
watching this film, I got to thinking because my doctorate degree was in neuronutrition, and I kept looking at the film. I'm like, you know what? When you learn, you're creating brand new brain nerve pathways. But if what would happen if we actually skipped that step, implanted a chip, give us everything that we need, what is the brain going to do with all of that? And in a way, your film kind of shows us a possible side effect to that. And
Yeah, for sure.
so that's, that was the part of this film that was, you know, you're implanting more than just education and skill. There was something else that came along with it.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that because that's exactly what the film was trying to do. Is we never know like when you're going through the process, like what scenery you're gonna see. It's almost like when I was working as a story artist, a lot of the idea does come in the story room, but most interesting ones sometimes just came from the coffee talk. You're taking a break and then you're walking for coffee, and then those are where the brilliant idea come from. So I feel like definitely everything when we're actually doing it, the learning process, the growing process is there. Like learning it, that's made us who we are.
Yeah, your character, Dr. Linus, he was the embodiment of societal pressure to be competitive in education and the marketplace. He told Flora that the implant wouldn't change who her daughter is, but it did change her. And, you know, and in a way, I thought he was, in a way, he was manipulating the situation. Don't you
Yeah,
agree?
for sure. I agree. I feel like there are two part of him. Like one part when he worked for the organization, he truly believed, technology advancement can make people's life better. But in the meantime, personality-wise, he's also this salesman. So I think for any sale process, there are manipulation. You wanted people to bite on the hook. You want them to buy in what you're selling, for sure.
You bring up an excellent point. It was the salesman side of him, and we see it all the time. I mean, people are so many people are interested in AI. And it's funny because I think one of the portals that reaches people the most is Instagram because there's so many of these apps and programs that you can go in. You can change the way you can make yourself look better, look younger, uh, and just create things that normally 10, 15 years ago we would be having to use Final Cut Pro, and most people are never skilled at that level. Now we just cut, paste, and change, and it's done for us. And and I think that is a subtle way of manipulation of drawing us in a way, kind of like what Dr. Linus did to Flora.
Yeah, definitely. It's a totally a persona that, all the technology has been created. Same as, the persona is almost what Dr. Linus is painting this picture of what her life could be for her.
Well, yeah, the change showed me that, we want the skills we dream about, but we don't want the blood, sweat, and tears that go along with obtaining them, correct?
Yes, definitely. People want it, better, faster, bigger, like all the time. So
Well,
there is an evilness in the ambition for sure.
yeah, it's like I've been reading some studies to where people who use AI, in a way, it starts to shut off part of the brain, and we're not improving by using AI. It's actually a reversal because we're leaning on something to where we don't have to use any skill or think or ingenuity. We just type in the prompts, we wait for the answer, and we move on. But technically, we have learned nothing. I mean, it's kind of like, how many people go to university to learn literature, how to be a writer, to be a journalist, and those are very excellent skills to have. And now people just jump on Chat GPT and think they're a great writer when technically it's not their work at all.
Yeah, for sure. Because I feel like also there is this figuring out part. If say when I was a kid, if I'd live in a village and then I draw without any internet, right? I would have to see my drawing, seeing this doesn't work, why it doesn't work. I try to revise it, I make it better, and then slowly I would develop a style of my own. But unfortunately, I do live in a big city, so like the internet is everywhere. Then you say I wanted to go to DreamWorks. It's so easy to just like search every artist who work at DreamWorks, like look at how they draw, and then you would assume this would be the style to get into DreamWorks, even though all the style varies so much between individual artists. But then for me, if say I look at them, then I have a reference point. Then something it's just so easy to get influence. I think there is a fine balance regarding originality and then how much influence you can take and then how much the influence are sort of building into your own original stuff. So yeah, for sure. The same applies to, just the way of living, like looking at other people, like you just mentioned Instagram. There are so many ways of living out there, and then where do you reference yourself? Where do you see yourself in the world? I think that's, the technology in imprint sort of like implying.
Well, the other thing too was when, um, so the daughter gets the implant, and you bring up a great point because I've interviewed a lot of animators. There are so many people who, like you, who are a storyboard artist. I mean, that's a skill not everybody has because it takes creativity, but it takes vision. And the thing about, let's say, we'll just use a storyboard artist as an example. It's all mental. It's kind of like let's say you're drawing one of the storyboards and all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, that's the scene. That's the shot I want." It's kind of like the aha moment. The light bulb goes off. But like in your film, the daughter that gets the implant, will she ever have those aha moments? Will she ever have the light bulb go off and go, "Oh, I just figured this out." You know? And I think that as we learn, as we grow, we gain experience, those are really important elements of life to win, because we'll think back and go, "Oh yeah, I remember when, you know, the idea for this film came to me or whatever." And I think a lot of people today, they're not going to have those moments because they spend too much time online thinking a computer's going to create their world for them.
Yeah, that's definitely an aspect because I think how craft relating to ideas, like if I am getting better at my craft, naturally I think I do get better ideas in a sense. And then if I don't get opportunity to actually train my craft, would my idea drain? Like idea itself, like how much the idea worth it without any execution ability. I think that's totally relatable.
Well, tell in the film, I noticed something, and I don't know if it has any meaning or if it was just random, but I saw the number 667. Was it there on purpose? I actually looked it up because it means closure, completion, and the transition into one's next chapter. So, am I reading too much into that?
Oh wow, that's amazing because we choose a number totally random. We sort of, okay, let's get a random number, let's get a random barcode because that's like how I think people are assigned. They are diminishing their humanity, and then they do treat them as object, almost like I'm getting this furniture coming in and then in the order of which one you are. So it's totally like random. But it's
Because
so good to know that it has a meaning behind it.
yeah, because when you watch the film, it's like because when I saw 667, I'm like, that's just one number off of 666. Because in a way, because the way that I looked at it is that this whole implantation process, you're messing with creation.
Yeah, thank you so much for reading into it like in so detail. We did like joke about like the room number because it's playing with, losing language and then gaining another language, right? And then in Chinese, like four reads as 死, it's the same pronunciation as death. So we literally like in the confrontation scene, we just choose number four. So it has a double meaning in Chinese as well. We're like, okay, let's try that.
Well, Ariel said something in the film while talking to her mother before the procedure. She says, I'll never get into Windsor if I don't get fixed. I found this very disturbing because Ariel seemed to think it's normal to take a shortcut, and if she doesn't, then she would be lesser than her counterparts. You know, are we as a society sending that type of message to the younger generation now?
I don't have children, but like I do have friends who are sending their kids to classes, to better schools. I think not only that's like families' ambition, sometimes the kids do feel like left out because kids, even though they're young, they are so smart. Like they have peer pressure, like since a very starting early age for sure. So it's also a reason that parents might not want their kids to fall sort of out of their cohort and in a sense and for all of those are reinforcing the decision, so it's coming from both sides. I want a decision to be from the mom, but it's also from Ariel as well.
You know, it got me to thinking about the different education systems around the world. Um, there's Chinese, there's Japanese, there's Russian, and then there's America. And America is not exactly highly rated when it comes to the education system. And did any of those thoughts play into writing this story?
I feel like America is very advanced in technology and that is promotes, like free education, but I think there are still rules around it. For example, I have friends who went to high school here. Apply for university, even like academic wise, is not as for Chinese, it's all about competition in the score. But in the US, people are competitive in a way that they need more social activity. They need to broaden their they do more volunteer work. I feel like there are still rules within it. It's just people make rule in different way. So I feel like in the imprint world, the rules are, to have time to develop your X curriculum, you still need to have like the basic level of knowledge, and then that's what people trying to escape so they can have more time spending with their family. They can spend more time in what they think they truly wanted to spend their time on, like their hobby. So yeah, I feel like the education system, since I didn't go to schools here, so I can only speak for my Chinese part when I grew up in Beijing.
Well, tell me about the character Han, the immigrant who traded her skills for citizenship. When she said she is American now, it has so many meanings because of the way she said it. Assimilating into a new society is something everyone should do, but one should never lose their cultural identity. And more importantly, not be regulated to a lower class standard because you seem as different. When she said, I'm an American now, it almost came to me as I'm lesser than. Or some could read it as more than, but she traded all of her intellect.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like that's totally up to the audience interpretation. I'm just so glad you are such a like a smart audience and then interpret it in so many ways. Because like for me when I was writing it, it's definitely from the character perspective. Han just lost her Chinese, but her English level is very low, so she has very limited expression when communicating with her daughter. And then she was trying to signing some positive sign for her daughter, saying that, okay, we didn't lose everything, we gained something, and then look where we are now, stay positive. That's what she is trying to communicate. But, just one line came out.
Yeah, and because even her daughter said, but I want to talk in
Yeah,
Chinese.
exactly. Because I feel like I do feel a little bit like limited when I graduated college. Like when everyone apply for a job, like they get the job, that's it. But for me as immigrant, for all the immigrants, we have to go through like the visa process and it is a lottery system. So like for all of those, I feel for Han, she do see it as, as a mom. She did something for her daughter. Her daughter don't have to go through what she go through, which is, the legal permit thing. And
Well,
she tried to, yeah, send out the positive message.
that was the mother's sacrifice.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was for her, you know, it was really to have a better life for her daughter. So she sacrificed herself, you
I think
know.
exactly the same thing happened to the other mom. It just she didn't realize it is a sacrifice she's making. But Flora, she also sacrificed certain thing for her daughter. And she also didn't realize that she is played by the system as well until the very last scene.
Yeah, when Flora walked out of the meat company, she
Yes.
realized because I had to replay that scene a few times because when she walked out of the meat company, she realized she took another life, even though that life is still living. The only way I could describe it is intellectual murder.
I feel like that's also something for the audience to interpret it because when I was writing it, coming from the character perspective, Han definitely don't see this as sacrifice. She's sort of even um, okay with it because she has a clear goal in her mind what she want to gain. She wanted to have legal papers, and then she gained that. But for Flora, she was imagined she's gonna gain something, but she wasn't exactly clear what she's trying to do. And then in the film, she is the one actually getting punished in my mind, rather than Han is the one being punished by the process. Because Flora, she is being thrown off guard. She is the one being surprised, and then she is the one getting lost. Yeah. But I feel like people can read it in so many different ways.
Well, you also show too that in life, shortcuts don't usually end well.
Exactly, exactly. So that's why it's totally like a cautionary tale on Flora's character rather than like on Han's character.
Yeah, when I watched this film and then all of a sudden all of the news broke about the film Back Rooms. And I'm like, Imprint has that type of visual, doesn't it?
Oh, I haven't seen Backroom yet, but I really, really wanted to see. It's
Because
hard to
with the
get a
co
ticket.
because with the colors,
So
with the
cool.
way that you shot the scenes, like with Flora and Dr. Linus, the way the rooms were, I'm like, wow. I was like, this is weird to see this feature film come out, and then there's just this tonal, this color look to it. But I liked yours better because I thought the way that you used color and the way you used light and shadow within those scenes was just phenomenal.
Thank you so much. It's definitely like a team effort. I have to give a shout out for my DP Kai and also PD Dory because when we work on this film together, the first question we're discussing is, it is the color because we wanted the film's duality to be a metaphor and we want it to be graphic. Literally, the story progressed from white to all the way black and red. So hue-wise, we choose red alone. in production design, we wanted everything to have a red element and then try to limit to red. And then adding the other layer of color through lighting of cinematographer. So we went through like so many location scouts because LA is very expensive for short film. And to find a house that, especially the red stair, we're like, oh, no matter how much the house gonna cost, we have to get this one because this is the only one we see fitting.
Well, I was going to ask, did the shot on the circular staircase with Flora signify that she felt trapped in helping her daughter Ariel?
Yes, definitely. The one we are literally position it into like a prison bar. It's still graphic, but it's just her with the bar.
Yeah, that was the very thought I had when I saw that shot. Now tell me about the framing of your shots because I was very impressed with the blocking and the placement of characters in many of the scenes. I mean, even the ending shot of Flora's reflection in the doorway glass with Han placed within her head was metaphorically powerful and yet beautiful.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking that. I have so much to say in this area because, like, I literally did that's a line on the script. Flora look into Han, and then her reflection is also in the mirror, and then the two mother become one. That's the line on the script. So, like, we search for the location with that shot in mind, but physically we just can't find anything. Like the glass is literally fake. Like Flora is facing one direction, Han's in the other direction, but the reflection worked. And everything built from there, like the whole framing, like you said, feel like Flora slowly felt trapped into the system. So we wanted to build that sense of suffocating through framing. People can probably notice in the beginning there's less negative space, it's more normal framing, and then she's positioned comfortably with a lot of air room in front of her, and then slowly, she's pushing sideways, and then there are less negative space like around her, and then she's being pushed either very small or very sideways on the frame. You can feel the crushing in her, and also her environment from a very graphic imprint slowly go to a little bit messier, which is her home. There's more visual elements, and then to something very organic and then not graphic at all of the meat shop. Literally, we're trying to not have any straight line in the meat shop. In the contrary of in imprint, there's only a straight line. So slowly through like all the visual elements progression, we can feel, the mom is walking into a dead end. She don't know how to get out of it. There's nothing she can do to undo the whole process.
Well,
Lighting ones is like getting darker too.
yeah. Well, yeah. How were you able to keep the tone of the film from beginning to end? There's always this uneasy feeling. You feel it in Flora, you feel it in Ariel, um, and then it's enhanced when Dr. Linus is in the picture, but that uneasy feeling never leaves the whole film.
Yeah, thank you so much. I hope that's what the film can do. I think it's literally like every department, framing wise, also production design wise, there are like little weird things goes off. Um, in life, like we just have everything, but when color are limited, that's not real. So naturally, that heightened reality would give unease. And framing wise, like whenever the suffocation happens, or when people are not used to seeing what they see, like on screen center or like one third rule, it still create unease. And also editing and pacing, I think, and also sound design would do a lot. The little tone comes in. I think the challenge is like having people feel unease, but also not giving a story review because sometimes if you lead with sound design or lead with editing choices, people can feel like the later coming scenes are no longer a surprise. They would anticipate something is going to happen. So I think that's that fine line we're walking is sort of like the most challenge the film faced. It's also acting too. I think um we are very lucky. We got like incredible talent. Like Rain is definitely very, very experienced, but Coco is very new. It's actually her first time on set. And then we are very surprised like how well she did. And then everyone's acting style fits into this one style. And Rain just gave us like so Rain and Alex both like Valerie, they gave us like so many choices. Like literally every take is great, and then we're just teasing to see which direction we should tease the audience with little moments. Even the shoulder shrug, edit it right, we can create the unease feeling in there.
You know, this film is probably one of, and this is only my opinion, it's probably one of the most complex films I've ever seen. Um,
Wow, thank you so much.
and
I'm so
and I
flattered.
mean that, and I mean that as a compliment because everything in this film was done so well, but it was the underlying story, the underlining meaning of what is really going on in society today, which made this film very today, very present, also very futuristic, even subtly scary. And so I'm kind of curious, what was the audience's reaction to the film at Tribeca?
I think when we played, I didn't get to talk to a lot of audience member because Tribeca, like after the showing, there's a little mingling. I talked to a few people. Um, I'm so glad that people from not only America, like even Europe emphasize with it. So I think it is like a worldly topic. That's a comfort to know because originally I wrote it as, a scene in America or North America. But then when people from Europe, they empathize with it, I'm like, oh, that's great.
So, what do you hope that future audiences will take away from seeing your film Imprint?
I think for sure I wanted to make it entertaining because sometimes like the topic can get very, very serious. If I do a drama on this topic, it could be very heavy. But wrapping it in a sci-fi, I think first and then the most top is like people entertained by it. They have fun watching the short. That's the most important thing. And then if they happens to think about, bigger topics after watching it, that's such like a bonus for sure.
Well, how did the AFI DWW Plus Directors Program improve your skills as a film director?
I think I just love my cohort so much. Like I think they recruit female filmmakers. We all have a different professional background. There are people coming from a professional writing background or theater or commercial or camera department. And then so I came from animation, right? So we have so much just to learn from each other. And then um, I think my previous film is a feature, so it's very high stake when you're making a feature. You literally can't fail. But for short, I think this is within the AFI environment. It's very safe. I can try things and then not afraid of being failed because the stake is lower in a sense. We basically just had fun with it. So I think that's very much when you're having fun, you're exploring. I think I like literally discover more about me and then my directing style as well. So I think I don't know if that answers the question. And
Yeah,
definitely
well,
there
yeah.
are
Well, if
workshops
you
and everyone's literally through every step, like there are help.
well, if you came from animation, have you done an animated film?
I did animated shorts, but like I mainly work as a storyboard artist for like feature level animation. For Ice Age, Real, or Spy in Disguise, those big tempo movie. But my directing debut started with my live action feature. So after I leave my storyboarding job, I directed like this live action feature, and then this is my second live action efforts.
Oh, well, I will say this. You really hit it out of the park with Imprint because it's an absolute incredible film. And ladies and gentlemen, Rand Jing's Imprint, the gripping and thought-provoking short, made its world premiere at the Tribeca Film Festival, offering a chilling exploration of ambition, sacrifice, and the hidden human cost of progress. Now, set within a near future shaped by competitive pressure and emerging technology, the film follows Flora, played by Wrenn Schmidt, a determined mother desperate to secure a competitive edge for her 9-year-old daughter Ariel. Now, when conventional paths fall short, Flora turns to an experimental knowledge transfer process, purchasing expertise from Han, an immigrant navigating a precarious system that compels her to exchange her hard earned skills for the promise of legal stability. Now, what begins as a calculated transaction spirals into something far more disturbing, as Ariel absorbs not only knowledge, but the emotional weight and trauma tied to it. Now, the boundaries between progress and exploration begin to collapse. And then blending intimate family drama with psychological thriller Imprint uses its speculative premise to explore urgent questions around ambition, privilege, and the unseen labor that underpins opportunity. Now, through the intersecting lives of Flora, Ariel, and Han, the film examines systemic inequality and, well, the transfer of knowledge and that moral compromises embedded within modern systems of success. Now, at the heart of this is the immigrant experience, embodied through Han's story, reflecting the harsh realities faced by those compelled to trade not just labor, but identity, history, and personal autonomy in exchange for opportunity and security. And what a incredible film this is. And for all of you filmmakers out there, you need to watch Imprint because of the fact that this film from beginning to end gives us this feeling of an uneasiness. But you need to look at the use of color. You need to look at blocking. This is a great teaching film for many of you who want to kind of get into the psychological thriller side of film, and Imprint delivers 100% to the audience with everything that Wrenn has brought to us. And I want to thank you, Wrenn, for sharing your very powerful, gripping, and compelling film with me today.
Thank you so much for having me, and then thank you so much for all your kind words about Imprint. Really appreciate it.
You're very, very welcome, and I hope and believe that this film is going to be official selections at more film festivals in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Tribeca is our first stop, is our start, and then after the world premiere, hopefully we'll hear more news from other festivals.
I'm sure you will. With having Tribeca on your resume, that can only help you. And with much success to you and your whole team on Imprint. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, you can watch or listen to all of the Bond on Cinema interviews at bondoncinema.com. Check out our Prime Show, our YouTube channel. We're also on Spotify, iTunes, and more. And remember, you'll either see me at the movies or from the red carpet.